If you're trying to get your life together and your friends get in the way, that's actually real useful for you because you've now identified who your friends aren't. And you might think, well, I can't give them up. It's like, oh, yes, you can. And not only can you should, and it would be better for them. Because if they're aiming down and they want you going down with them, there's nothing good about what's happening to them, and there's certainly nothing good about that for you.
Yeah, they're not going to, and then they're going to learn, wow, if I'm going to lose friends if I continue in these directions. Yeah.
Exactly. Disabuse yourself of the notion that you know what is best for this person. You don't, not only do you not know, you actually don't want that responsibility for two reasons. Let's say they do what you say and something good happens to them. Well, whose victory is that? Yours or theirs? And if it's yours, did you just steal it? And then let's say they fail following your advice. Well, they pay the price for that. And you can skip away merrily and say, well, I should have spoke more carefully. The medieval definition of God was something like the sum of all that is good or the essence of what is good. Now, you can debate forever about what that is. But it is something you live in relationship to. And you might say, well, I don't believe in God. And then I would say, well, do you believe in good? And you'll say, no. I say, well, then you can't act. Because you act towards a good, or you're not motivated. There's no secure path forward. Give it up. It's risk everywhere. You think, oh my God, that's terrible. It's like, yes, except for two things. You can pick your risk. That's the first thing. So you get to pick your poison. That's something. And second, you're a lot tougher than you think. So even though there's risk everywhere, if you confront it forthrightly, what you'll find is that you can actually handle the risk. And that's the security. You probably want to have an intimate relationship. Now, maybe not, but probably. But assuming you do, imagine, pretend like you're a kid. You get to have an intimate relationship. What does it look like? What does it look like when your wife greets you when you come home from work? What does your sex life look like, right? What do you do for entertainment? How do you treat each other? You need a fantasy, just like a little kid playing house, right? Figure out what you want. Write it down. Figure out what you could do to start moving towards that, okay? Do that with your family relationships. Do that with your friendships. Do that with your career. Do that with your education. Think about your misuse of alcohol and drugs and other things that might drag you down. Nietzsche, back in the late 1800s, announced that God was dead. And what he meant by that, essentially, was that the unity of conception that had brought us together psychologically and socially was disintegrating. And Nietzsche knew what the consequence of that would be. He knew that the consequence of that would be nihilism and hopelessness on the one hand, and a turn towards totalitarian certainties on the other. He nailed that. Dostoevsky knew the same thing. And Nietzsche saw a way out, he thought, and his way out was that human beings would have to they would have to adopt the mien of what they had deposed. And so he thought that people would have to become gods in some way, and that we could do that by creating our own values, that we would have to take it upon ourselves to create our own values.